We have quite a bit to talk about today. So why don't I turn it over to you, Tomislav, to give the technical update?
Okay, so I will start from Rao's last notes, because I found out that I don't have permission, and yeah, he was already gone. So I will just use this as a template. So there is no change on the mainnet. We are running 0.10.2. We are also testing alpha version on the testnet, but we have some delay on the block merge, and this is mostly related to our testing and existing logic for detecting conflicts. So basically, we decided to rewrite how conflict detection works. Previously, we were more oriented to a DAG, and that was like more complicated. So now we are simplifying this part of the code, and this is why we have this delay. After this, we have some work on the finalization and safety oracle, but this should be mostly testing. So we're not expecting that on this part we will take us like more time. Together with that, we are starting working on the stuff that is coming after block merge for external validators. So this is mostly fixing of system contracts like proof of stake and revolt. I'm glad that Isaac joined us again, and because he was already working on this part, and he will do most of this stuff directly related to rolling. At first, for example, changes that we are doing for revolt, that is also interesting for creating a light client for RChain, is all transactions will be on chain. So this is like one of the changes that we are doing, and this is for all of these changes we need to do hard fork. So this will be happen on the second hard fork. Real is working for the first hard fork. We need to extract rebalances, and this is done on the chain side, or which we have the complete data written in the revolt contract, but on chain we don't have directly addresses or rev addresses written, because we have only hashes. This is how this is encoded in revolt. So on the other side, we completely replayed. We are reporting API all of the blocks from the genesis, so we can extract complete transactions of all revolts. And of course, this will because we have two sources, we can compare and be completely sure that what we extracted from the history of blocks is correct. On the another side, for second hard fork, we did some refactoring of RSpace storage, specifically serialization and hashing, and that was currently not really. It was not easy in the current code to see how in which way serialization is using, because it should be only proto, but also we have some another library for serialization. So on the second hard fork, we will try to do like more simpler approach, or something that can be more easily implemented in other languages like Rust, because this is something that is also for me at least very interested. How to make maybe this low level part more performant. And I probably didn't cover all the other stuff that Rao is usually saying, but I think this is all for me. That now it's in my head. I forgot that this refactoring of RSpace serialization and hashing that was directly related to our removal of chainless map, because we had different hashing of channels that are put in event log and different in the storage. So this first refactoring is just to make it more easily visible, but not making any hard fork changes. And now on the feature branch separately, we are working without a channels map, and this is already in testing. So I hope this will give us much better performance. I don't have results yet. I have this log that Gurinder started the nodes, but that was like half an hour ago. But so I don't have like concrete numbers. And this is, I think, all that I want to say.
Awesome. Well, I think we should maybe tell people a little bit about what your comment meant about not being DAG oriented. I think what you really mean is that you're going a little deeper than the block structure and looking at deploys as opposed to the block structure. So it's not that we're losing the DAG, the concurrency opportunities in the DAG, but rather we're exposing more total opportunities.
Yes, even more. Yes. So we want to be more flexible because even with the block merge that we are releasing now, we can do even better and more precise detection of the conflicts. For example, we can even look at the patterns and decide that two codes are not conflicting.
Yeah, exactly. Good, very good. Any questions for Tomislav? All right then. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Tomislav, and looking forward to seeing the block merge code complete.
Oh yeah, me too. Very much. Oh.
All right. So yesterday there was a special board meeting. Mostly it was an informational discussion. Lots of good updates. So for the Friday session, we'll be able to talk about those, in particular, some nice opportunities for the hardware acceleration efforts and some nice opportunities on the data sovereignty, data and identity sovereignty effort that Steve Rostalba is leading up. So looking forward to talking to folks on Friday about those. And the community will be seeing from us a survey coming out soon to discuss, to see what interest there might be in co-op members who are interested in running nodes, if they would be interested in a box coming from the co-op that would give them roughly 300x speed up. What we want to do is to kind of gauge market demand. So we'll be interested in if we could guarantee a box like that, how many people would be interested in purchasing such a box. Please look for that survey, and if you have the time, feel free to fill it up. Any questions about any of that?
Are you predicting the price range for the box?
Well, that'll be included in the survey, yeah. Okay, all right, moving on. So Daryl, Ian, we talked about several things to discuss, but before we get there, maybe Daryl, you want to give the community week in review, and then we'll kind of go over those topics.
Sure, sounds good. So here's the week in review for Thursday, May 6th to today, Wednesday, May 12th. On Thursday, in the DApp Developer Working Group, they did a review of RGov Ideathon rewards. Friday at the Climate and Coordination RCast. Nora presented a study on how rich nations' climate targets will meet global heating of 2.4 degrees Celsius and why half a degree of warming is a big deal. Steve Ross Talbot spoke about how net zero and carbon trading is a mistaken approach and focusing on the wrong thing. And he introduced us to a guy named Rock Sanford, who is orchestrating climate protests off the grid from a shed on an island. I continued talking about the looming AR and VR future in front of us and how Facebook and Apple are spending huge resources and staffing up on their mixed reality plays, and Earth 2.io, which Facebook may purchase. And on Saturday, in the RGov Smart Contracts call, review of RGov open issues and tasks for interested developers. On Monday's Casper Stand-Up, they covered a critique of the mathematical tools used in the original MPC in the head ZKP paper, and a suggestion of how a process algebraic account would fare better. They also looked at some updates for the proof theoretic account of OSLF. And yesterday in the communications working group, I gave an update on the PR videos. Ian informed us that our subscription to the blog hosting site runs out in June, and we may want to migrate to a GitHub alternative. We'll be joining the Crypto Climate Accord. We also discussed creating more of a Wikipedia presence, and we discussed Shusi's heads up that we need to update the info on RChain website's timeline. And yesterday in the DApp Developer Working Group, they did troubleshooting of RGov localhost bootstrap issues. And this morning, Steve Henley did a run through of the Daasl presentation that he will be doing, I believe, today. And a update from the Chinese community via Shusi. We are in talks with a number of organizations that are interested in investing and helping us run the new hackathon. And also Greg's cartoon character has been made, and it will appear on WeChat's emoji platform soon. And that's all I have. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you. Steve, do you want to talk a little bit about Daasl?
Yes, I'll be happy to. So thank you, everyone. Let me share my screen here. I want to thank the RChain Active member group for allowing me to do a rehearsal earlier. So today I want to introduce Daasl, explain what Daasl is, and speak to the Daasl sponsored content token economic models. So first off, Daasl is a software as a service platform for DApp developers. So DApp developers will be able to work with Daasl to get their DApp up to speed and help facilitate growing their community. And Daasl will provide a sponsored content monetization API, which will allow sponsored content to be delivered on their DApp, which will help generate revenue, which could be used to offset costs for compute and for storage. So that's a high level of what Daasl is as a company. So Daasl is it's a social purpose vehicle, SPV, and it's a public B Corp, and it is wholly owned by the RChain Cooperative currently. So with that, I'm going to get into explaining the economic model. But I think the best way to help understand the token economic model is to present a user story. So I've been working on an article called the Kennel Club DApp on Daasl. So this article will be available in the future. I'll be publishing at some point in time with some subsequent follow-ups, and the follow-ups will be more along the lines of the presentation today. But so what I want to do is present three characters. And the three characters I'm presenting each have a role in the token economic model. So the first character is Bob. Bob is a DApp developer. Bob created the Kennel Club DApp for dog owners. The DApp allows the community to connect to discuss pet supplies, dog food and treat brands, locate veterinarians, dog groomers, dog sitters, pet stores, and use promotions and make purchases. I'm not going to use the entire article in the discussion today, just take out certain pieces which will help my explanation of the sponsored content token economic model. So we'll just wanted to point that out. So another important point about, so Bob's role, so he's his role is as a DApp developer. And Daasl has the token API monetization of sponsored content allows Bob to quickly monetize his DApp to generate revenue and cover operating costs. So that's the piece that we'll be talking about today, is the monetization of the sponsored content and how that works in the economic model. Okay, so we have our first character. Our next character is Alice. And Alice, her first role is as an end user. So Alice is a dog owner who loves her greyhound named Cupcake. Alice uses the Kennel Club DApp to discuss pet supplies, dog food and treat brands, locate veterinarians, dog groomers, pet sitters, pet stores, and she uses it for promotions and making purchases. Alice has been using the DApp more and more frequently over time. Alice views dog-related sponsored content on the DApp. As a result, her monthly subscription fee has continuously decreased over time. Currently, her monthly DApp subscription is free, and she has started to earn Daasl for viewing sponsored content. Alice is thrilled with the DApp, and it has become one of her favorites. Alice has made several friends who love dogs as much as she has using the DApp. Over time, Alice's standing in the community has grown. Her thoughts and opinions are valued and respected. As her following grows, her esteem rating continues to rise. Alice has begun to capitalize on her increased esteem rating. She curates sponsored content from pet brands and shops. Alice makes more Daasl tokens curating content due to her rising esteem ratings. Now, the discussion around esteem and what is an esteem rating is a presentation in of itself. But briefly, it's a way to measure or quantify the value that you find in someone else's content. So let's say if I were using the Kennel Club DApp and I was viewing Alice's content and I enjoyed it. So I frequently looking forward and consume the content that Alice create. So in my relationship with Alice, Alice would have a high esteem rating. So as opposed to perhaps someone else on the platform who I rarely look at their content. Someone else, Joan, would have a low esteem rating. So because I value Alice's content, she has a higher esteem rating in relation to me. And as a result, Alice, she has a high esteem rating with multiple people in the community. Advertisers look at that and they value those types of individuals. So Alice, in addition to the role of being an end user, she has a role as a curator, curating content. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our third character in our user story, Claire. Okay, Claire, she is the advertiser for Maggie's Munchies. Claire works in the marketing department of Maggie's Munchies, a dog treat manufacturer. She likes the Kennel Club DApp since it has a strong community of dog lovers. She appreciates the fact that the community is targeted to dog owners which purchase pet supplies, including dog treats. Claire advertises on the DApp to attract customers, announce promotions, sell products. Her ads are more effective because her ads reach a targeted audience. Claire and Alice found each other on the DApp. Because Alice has a high esteem rating, she curates ads for Claire and Maggie's Munchies dog treats. As a result, Alice makes Daasl tokens, curating ads for Maggie's Munchies. As a result, Claire has more customers and sells more dog treats because Alice curates ads. So Claire, the advertiser for Maggie's Munchie, as an advertiser, that is the third role. The third role as a sponsor or advertisers. So with that, we're going to move over to the spreadsheet after I take a sip of water here. And we'll get into some numbers. Okay. So what I find is we're going to start simple. We're going to go through a couple simple examples which outline the ad revenue distribution percentages to each of the various roles. And once we get an understanding of those roles and the percentages that they receive, then we're going to work our way up to a bigger example. So in the lower left-hand corner, I want everyone to train their eyes on the box that's titled Key Variables. Okay, and we're going to be using this box information throughout the presentation. So first we have the advertiser, who's an important role. And in this user story, it's going to be Claire. Okay, so Claire, she's the one who's going to be publishing ads and generating the ad revenue. And it's that ad revenue which gets distributed to the other roles in the economic model. So the first role is the end users, and you can think of the end users as a group. We talked about the Kennel Club DApp. Could have a community as large as 10,000 users. So you could think of 10,000 users or more, multiplied by the number of DApps. So end users as a group will receive 55% of the ad revenue distribution. Alice, being an end user, as one end user, she'll receive her small portion of that percentage. Next, we have curators, the group that curates the content and provides their expert opinions. The group will receive 15% of the ad revenue distribution. Alice, in addition to being an end user, she is also a curator, so she will receive her small portion of that 15%. Okay, the next role are the DApp developers as a group, and they will receive 15% of the ad revenue distribution. So Bob, the creator of the Kennel Club DApp, he will receive his small portion of that 15%. And then we have Daasl, it's our software as a service provider, our layer 2 service provider, who's providing the service and platform for the dApps. Daasl will receive 12.5% of the ad revenue distribution. And then finally, RChain, providing the layer 1 services, will receive 2.5%. And then finally, we have our token exchange rate. So as we convert from US dollars, USD, to Daasl tokens, each Daasl token has a value of 0.006. So we'll use that as the token exchange rate conversion rate. Okay, so now we have a general familiarity with the percentages that each of the roles receive. Now, let's take $1. How is $1 in ad revenue distributed among the various roles? So let's walk through that. Okay, so our advertiser is Claire. So she's the one who's providing the $1. So the first role is we have the end user. So the end users receive 55% as a group. So that 55% of the $1 is 55 cents. Now that 55 cents will get divided among all the end users in the end user group. So Alice, being one of the end users, she'll receive her small portion of that 55%, of that 55 cents. Next role is the curators. Curators, they receive that 15%, so that's 15 cents, and that gets divided among all of the curators. Alice, being a curator as well, she'll receive a small portion of that 15 cents. Next, we have the DApps role. DApps receive that 15%. So 15% of the dollar is 15 cents. And Bob, being one of the DApp providers, he'll receive his small portion of that 15 cents. And then next, we have the Daasl. They'll receive 12.5 cents of the $1. And then finally, RChain will receive 2.5 cents of that $1. Okay, but in our Daasl sponsored token economic model, we're not the model or the economics isn't done in terms of USD. It's done in terms of Daasl tokens. So now we're going to start talking and speaking in terms of Daasl tokens and how Daasl tokens works through the economy. And I'm going to take another sip of water here. Okay, and I'm going to be pulling up my calculator, and we're going to be doing some numbers here. Okay, so we're going to start off again. So hopefully everyone's sort of getting into a rhythm here of how the economy works with these simple examples. So so we have Claire. She's the sponsor, she's the advertiser. So she's going to take her $1 and she's going to use that to purchase Daasl tokens, and she's going to use those Daasl tokens to publish ads, to sponsor content. So we're going to take our $1 and we're going to convert that to Daasl tokens, and we're going to do that by dividing by 0.006, which is our token exchange rate, and we get 166.67 Daasl tokens. So with our first role, which is the end user role, that group received 55%. So we're going to times that by 55%. So it's 91.66 Daasl tokens. So as a group, the group receives 91.66, and Alice, being an end user, she'll receive her small portion of those rev. And then if we follow that through, the curators, they'll receive 25 Daasl tokens, which will get divided among the curators. DApp developers will receive 25 Daasl tokens, which will get divided up among the DApp developers. Daasl will receive their portion, the 12.5%, which is 20.83. And then finally, RChain will receive 4.17, which is their 2.5%. Okay, so, and if we were to add all of those up for the roles, they would equal that 166.67 of the total ad revenue that was distributed amongst the roles. Okay, so now we're starting to get a familiarity with how the economy works. Now we're going to move up to a bigger example, and I'm going to have my key variable box over here on the left that we can refer to as we work through some of these numbers. Okay, so Daasl is a new company, and Daasl is working on building its platform. And we anticipate it's going to take 4 quarters for Daasl to build out the platform. So we anticipate by the 5th quarter, Q5, Daasl will be live, and sponsors will now be able to purchase Daasl tokens. And I'm going to take another sip of water here before we get into our next example. And let me just take a quick look at the chat here, see if one, thank you, Nora. Okay, so Claire is our sponsor. She's the advertiser for Maggie's Munchies, and it's the advertiser that's she has her US dollars. She uses that to buy Daasl tokens, and that's what kicks everything off. So we want to make this example understandable. So we're going to still make some assumptions. And the assumption that we're making to keep this simple is in Q5, we have one sponsor. And we're going to say that Maggie's Munchies is a national brand. They're a big company, and they can afford to, they spend a lot on advertisement each quarter. So much so that they're able to purchase $1,200,000 worth of Daasl tokens. Okay, so that's going to be the spend for Q5. So we're going to take our $1,200,000 for Maggie's Munchies advertising spend, and let's convert that into Daasl tokens. So let's look at our key variable box over on the left, and we're going to take a look at our token exchange rate. So it's 0.006. So we're going to take our 1,200,000 and we're going to divide it by 0.006, and we get 200 million Daasl tokens. So that 200 million Daasl tokens is an important number. That's going to represent what's going to be the ad revenue that's going to be distributed to the various roles in our economic model. So we're going to take our first role, which is the end user group. So let's refer to our key variable table over on the left. So we have our end users, they receive 55%. So we're going to take our 200 million Daasl tokens times 0.55, and we get 110 million Daasl tokens. Now, that 110 million is going to get divided up amongst all the end users. Now, we say in Q5 that there exists 30,000 end users. So the 110 million Daasl tokens is going to get divided up amongst all 30,000 end users. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to divide by 30,000, and we're going to get 3,666 Daasl tokens. So each end user, so Alice being an end user who uses the Kennel Club DApp, she's going to receive 3,666 Daasl tokens for using the DApp, being engaging with ads in the 5th quarter. So let's convert that into US dollars so we can get a better appreciation of what exactly Alice is receiving. So to do that, we're going to use our exchange rate of 0.006. So times 0.006, and it's $22. So in other words, as an end user using the Kennel Club DApp, Alice will receive $22 in Q5. And each other user as well will receive that $22. Okay, so that's our first role. Now let's move on to the next role, which is the curators. So we're going to take a look at our key variable box on the left, and we see curators. They receive 15% of the ad revenue distribution percentage. So let's take our 200 million Daasl tokens that were purchased by our sponsor, and we're going to multiply that by that 15%, 0.15, and we get 30 million Daasl tokens. So in Q5, we have 3 curators. So we're going to take our 30 million Daasl tokens divided by the 3 curators, and we get 10 million Daasl tokens. So Alice, being a curator, her reward for curating content, providing her expert opinion and knowledge, she'll receive 10 million Daasl tokens. So let's convert that to dollars to get a better sense of what that is. Let's use our exchange rate, token exchange rate of 0.006, and that's $60,000. So each curator would receive $60,000. Okay, so now let's move on to the next role, which are the DApp providers. And we'll take a look at our key variable table on the left. So DApp providers, they receive 15% of the ad revenue distribution. That's their percentage. So we're going to come over here and let's put in our 200 million Daasl tokens from our sponsor. And we're going to times that by the 0.15. And once again, we get our 30 million Daasl tokens. And in Q5, there are 3 DApps in Q5. So we're going to divide that by the 3. So we once again we have 10 million, and so each DApp. So Bob, being the creator of the Kennel Club DApp, will receive 10 million Daasl tokens for being a DApp provider. And let's go ahead, for just completion's sake, convert that back to dollars. So in other words, Bob would receive $60,000 in Q5 to pay for, for compute, to pay for storage, to pay for keeping his DApp up and running and available to all his users. Okay, we have 2 other roles that we're going to go through. So we have Daasl as the layer 2 service provider. They're providing the platform for the dApps and everyone else to participate. So let's take a look at the key variable table on the left to see what their ad revenue distribution will be. So it's 12.5%. Okay, so we're going to come back here and let's put in our 200 million Daasl tokens from our sponsor, and we're going to times that by the 12%, and we get 25 million Daasl tokens. So Daasl providing the layer 2 service in all the functionality that they provide to the dApps. They receive 25 million Daasl tokens. Let's convert that to dollars with our token exchange rate, 100, which is 150,000. So, okay, and then we have one final role, which is RChain, for providing the layer 1 platform. And let's take a look over on the left at our key variable table. And RChain, for their ad revenue distribution percentage, is 2.5%. So let's go ahead and put in our sponsored content token amount, which is the 200 million, and we're going to times that by the 2%, and we get 5 million Daasl tokens. So that's what RChain will be receiving for providing the RChain layer 1 platform. And let's go ahead and convert that to dollars, which is $30,000. So this is Q5. And we anticipate, with time, month over month, quarter over quarter, the number of sponsors will increase along with the various roles. Numbers of users will increase along with curators, and the number of dApps will increase. So, and essentially, the calculations are the same, except the numbers just, hopefully they get bigger and bigger quarter over quarter. So over time, Daasl becomes profitable and generating revenue and continues to grow. and it has a robust sponsored content token economy that it's created and is thriving. So I hope that this explanation and walkthrough was helpful for everyone. I understand there's a lot here, so this presentation is recorded. So feel free to go back and watch it a few times to get comfortable with how the economic model works. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve about the Daasl presentation? All right. Well, I'm personally very excited about the Daasl opportunity. I think, as I've said many times before, the thing that is really interesting about the market is that online advertising is the largest economy in the world, while at the same time, anyone who's building on top of layer one blockchain, their dApps are facing this issue where all their backend accesses cost money. So there's immediate friction, and that's going to have to be dealt with in some way. And the most natural thing to do is to provide sponsorship, but to provide sponsorship in a way that is much more community friendly and much less surveillance capitalism oriented. So I think this is an enormous opportunity, and hopefully, these very, very conservative numbers that Steve walked through are an indication of how things might go. I think if you look at the graphs carefully, in terms of if we were to price, there are already price points that we can look at in terms of the market. How much Google is getting for delivering impressions versus how much Facebook versus how much Twitter is getting for delivering impressions. I think what we'll see is you'll see that since there already are existing price points, Daasl can position itself at the low end of the market, and then over time move up to the mid-range of the market relatively quickly. So the numbers that Steve is showing are actually quite conservative by comparison to what people are already shelling out. And the more people begin to move towards the decentralized platforms, the more I think that position will be justified.
I had a comment, or actually a question.
Yes. Sure.
Also, it seems that there's some questions, or at least one question in the chat. So maybe Steve, you can read it while I'm asking this. But I fully, everybody knows that I'm, really despise surveillance capitalism and how it really makes people feel. The addiction aspect of it, all the data that has to be collected to make ads that, they say improve our experience, but really don't, basically. I guess my question, this is probably like something more to be considered in the future, but I just wonder how a model like this will be able to compete with the effectiveness of ads that have incredibly precise, demographic and even psychographic information, like, ads on social media right now and other parts of the internet are so tailored to people, and obviously they're really annoying and kind of invasive sometimes, but obviously there's billions of dollars spent on this, so that must be working to some extent, because otherwise why would it be this huge industry if it didn't work? Sorry, there's construction next door if anybody can hear that. So yeah, I'm just wondering if Daasl has a plan or just any thoughts on how like the Daasl platform can compete with such incredibly specific and accurate information.
I'd love to take that one. So how often do you click on ads when you're on Facebook or on YouTube?
I wouldn't say never, but I would say extremely rarely.
Yeah, same with me. I'd say close to never. So Facebook's approach and attempt at trying to get us to click doesn't work very good. And there's probably a better way. And the better way would be that if you actually have a community that opts in to advertising and they choose the type of ads they want to see, the chances of them clicking on those ads increase dramatically. So I think surveillance capitalism is not only evil, it sucks at what it does.
So there's some comments in the chat. So let me do my best to answer what I can. So let's see here. Thank you, Tom, for the question. How did you come up with the 0.006 Daasl token price? So so that number, that token rate is determined by, we look at, using our best judgment as far as what we believe the market cap would be for Daasl when looking at both the total token supply. Daasl has a token supply of 10 billion tokens and also has 25 million shares. And then working backwards, we use our best instinct and it comes to 0.006. So I don't know, Greg, do you have any other insights on how we came up with that rate?
Well, actually, that number is again just for demonstration purposes. That might not be the final number. So that rate is not to be relied upon. But it lines up with if you look at the exchange between the co-op and Daasl, that's one way to calculate that number. But again, it's just for presentation purposes. It's not the final number at all.
And then let's see here, is the token somehow tied to the number of ad impressions? So with all content that's delivered, all content will have an associated token sponsored amount. So well, I guess Greg actually answered the question there as well. So it's not necessarily tied to ad impressions as far as the 0.006.
So the way the ad impressions get factored in is in the cost of the delivery of the impressions rather than the rate. So the rate is not going to be tied to the ad impressions, but the cost of delivering a particular campaign may vary from campaign to campaign.
Very good.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, and I think that was all the questions that were in the chat.
Awesome. Well, we had other things that we were going to talk about, but we're so close to the top of the hour now. I think we can pick those up the next time because I have a hard stop at 12 noon. Are there any other questions or comments from the community before we sign off?
I'd just like to say, Steve, that was really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Very good presentation. All right, thank you, everyone. Please stay safe, and I will see you on the other side.